Kembali lagi di Power Lunch dan kami sampaikan informasi yang telah kami janjikan. FinAccel, induk usaha dari perusahaan pengelola platform kredit digital Kredivo, siap melantai di bursa Wall Street dengan menggunakan skema perjanjian melalui perusahaan Special Purpose Acquisition atau SPAC. Hal ini ditempuh dengan cara merger dengan VPC Impact Acquisition Holdings II, sebuah perusahaan cangkang atau SPAC yang memang sudah tercatat sahamnya di Nasdaq dengan kode VPCB. Baik FinAccel maupun VPC sudah menaikkan perjanjian definitif untuk penggabungan bisnis mereka yang disampaikan dalam keterangan resmi pada 3 Agustus lalu yang nantinya akan membawa FinAccel menjadi perusahaan publik. Valuasi pro forma ekuitas dari IPO ini akan mencapai kisaran 2,5 miliar dolar Amerika Serikat setara 36,25 triliun rupiah dengan asumsi tidak ada penebusan. Transaksi ini juga diharapkan akan menghasilkan lebih dari 430 juta dolar atau setara 6,24 triliun rupiah dalam bentuk tunai pada neraca keuangan perusahaan gabungan. Dan untuk mengulas maraknya tren startup melantai di bursa saham dan kabar terbaru dari Kredivo sebagai startup fintech pertama di Asia Tenggara yang akan melantai di bursa Amerika Serikat dengan skema SPAC. Seperti apa sebenarnya peta kompetisi perusahaan teknologi di bursa global dan bagaimana dampaknya bagi konsumen dan ekonomi negara saat ini? Kita telah tersambung secara eksklusif dengan Mr. Akshay Garg, Co-Founder and CEO FinAccel. Hello Mr. Garg, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Power Lunch.
Thank you for having me here, Aline. It's my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, our pleasure. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the first Indonesian tech startup to list in the US and also the first fintech company in all Southeast Asia to list in the US and also the fastest from seed stage to public listing, or around 6 years. Congratulations on all these achievements.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There's a lot of work to be done between now and the listing. As you know, so far we've made the announcement, but we're very excited about the future and what this means for us and the country and the fintech ecosystem. So thank you very much.
Yes, looking forward for the latest updates on that. And first of all, could you explain the background of FinAccel's decision to choose VPC Impact Acquisition Holding II and the main reason FinAccel wants to become a public company on Nasdaq? And also, can you tell us why you decided to go through this SPAC route?
Sure. No, all great questions. Look, I mean, we've known the Victory Park Capital team for quite a while now. This is not our first engagement with them, Aline. We've in fact been working with them now for close to a year and a half, from the beginning, from when their due diligence on us started for a credit line. They're actually one of our largest credit facility providers with about $200 million already committed to us. They know the company very well. We know them very well. We have a lot of respect for them, and I think they have the same for us. So I think when the opportunity really came up, it was a very compelling opportunity, right? For us, the goal was not necessarily to go down the SPAC route, but I think when you look at the advantages of the SPAC structure, which is that it allows you to go public relatively faster than a traditional IPO route. It gives you pricing and deal certainty right at the beginning, unlike a traditional IPO where your pricing and your investor base is not fixed till the end point. Here, right, your pricing gets finalized and you actually have to raise what is called a PIPE, which is generally invested in by high quality institutional investors. So I think the ability to go public faster, raise a very large amount of capital in one go. In our case, we intend to raise more than $400 million combined between the PIPE and the public trust. And last but not least, the certainty around the deal is what really made us go in favor of or go in this direction. So in summary, this was less about wanting to do a SPAC. We were happy to stay private. We could have stayed private. I think we've had multiple offers to stay private, but given all the considerations, our comfort with VPC, the ability to raise so much capital with so much certainty, and also long-term, the benefits of going public, I think all of those came together at the right time to make this decision.
Okay, speaking about the startup landscape in the US stock exchanges. We know that it is rare for the technology companies from Southeast Asia to list their shares in the US stocks exchange. Can you share with us the challenges and the opportunities of that?
Sure. Well, first of all, it is rare for a reason. It's not easy to list in the U.S. There is a reason that the U.S. is the deepest capital markets in the world. Between the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq, you're looking at what is the largest public markets anywhere in the world, and there is a reason that some of the world's largest, best companies choose to list in the U.S. Right? You get access to very deep capital markets, which you just don't get in most other places in the world. Now, that also makes it significantly harder. I think, first of all, I'd like to call out that the reason that you find very few tech companies, right, or startups from this region listing in the US is that Southeast Asia is still very early as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned. There are a very small number of companies that are generating, let's say, more than 100 million US dollars of revenue per year. If you're thinking about a listing in the US where you get a high quality institutional base, analyst coverage, right, and an ability to raise a large amount of capital downstream, you need to be at least kind of at that size. And the fact of the matter is that there are very few companies in the region who have reached that size, simply because Southeast Asia is still a very early stage ecosystem. And secondly, given, I think, the fragmentation and the diversity in the region, it makes it that much harder compared to, let's say, India or China to go build a very large business out of this geography. We would not be thinking about going public if we were not expected to cross more than 100 million US dollars of revenue this year, right? So given that we have, this became an attractive opportunity. And like I said, that's actually the reason that very, very few startups from this region have gotten to that point. But we think that will change. Now, in terms of the opportunities of going public in the US, look, I mean, these are the deepest, most advanced capital markets, right? There is some of the largest, most well-known, most respected companies in the US, most respected companies in the world, wherever they are based, right, choose to, if they can, list in the US. And that's just because of the depth and the sophistication, the very high standards of regulatory compliance, right? So in general, look, I mean, our view was that this is the right thing for us. And we hope that we can set a good example for more companies to also consider that. Because if you're able to do it, it sets a very, very, very high quality bar for the company, right? Not just in terms of its financials, but also its audit, regulatory, and compliance practices.
Okay, can you give us your views about the trend of the startup funding revolution both in Indonesia and globally, the prospects of the capital market for startups, and the trend of competition technology companies on the stock exchange?
For sure, for sure. Look, I mean, I think we're going through a boom. There's no question about it. I mean, first of all, look, I mean, I think we've got to acknowledge that I think while COVID-19 has obviously been a very unfortunate development for the world, right? In general, what COVID-19 has really done is accelerated a wave of digitization. If you talk to people in most industries, they will actually tell you that everything seems to have gotten digitized, at 5x or 10x the pace of what it was earlier. So in general, all kinds of companies that are benefiting from digitization, and most of them happen to be startups, are attracting waves of funding. We're also seeing, most of the major banks in the world, right, have a very easy money policy. Long-term interest rates are close to zero, if not already negative. That makes the cost of borrowing much cheaper, right? There is a race to the bottom, frankly, in some ways. So there is a lot of money chasing opportunities. So I think we believe that in some ways this is good, but it's also increasing risk in the ecosystem. There are a lot of companies that are raising, we believe, very large amounts of money where their underlying financials don't support it. But overall, we believe that this is a very positive development where companies like us, which we believe are solid financially from a compliance perspective, also doing a lot of good work for society, are getting a chance to raise larger amounts and go public. So we believe that this is a positive development. My last comment on this is that large companies should be thinking about going public. It has recently been fashionable for companies to stay private very long. We don't think that is a healthy phenomenon. I think being public forces you to be top tier in terms of all of your compliance and auditing standards, right? Public scrutiny it forces very, very high standards across the company. And 10, 15 years ago, I think a number of companies, Google, Yahoo, Twitter, which were very small at that stage, had gone public. Recently, larger and larger companies are staying private, but we think it's a very good idea to go public. It allows you to raise more capital and just builds a stronger company all around.
Okay. According to the company's official statement, and also as you mentioned before, the pro forma equity resulting from this merger will be around 2.5 billion US dollar. However, can you explain about the future business development plan after the company's corporate action is realized and FinAccel officially becomes one of the unicorns, Akshay?
Sure, I'm happy to. We're very excited about the future. I think, as you're aware, given our public announcements, we are the clear leader in the very fast-growing buy now, pay later space. We intend to consolidate our position there. We're also very keen to expand our buy now, pay later business across the region, since there are other countries such as Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, that also suffer from, to varying degrees, the lack of credit access that we actually see in Indonesia today. But I think beyond buy now, pay later, and beyond personal loans, which we also offer through our other subsidiary, Kredivo, I think we're looking at multiple other things. I mean, it's very important to recognize, Aline, that Indonesia is very underpenetrated when it comes to credit access. Compared to its peer group countries in Asia, whether it's India, Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia comes in at the bottom in terms of credit access. And we are using a lot of technology, a lot of data to essentially make it easier for people to get access to credit to do the things that they need to do. Now, our starting point has really been buy now, pay later, which is a fast-growing industry in the e-commerce space. But in terms of addressing your question about where do we intend to go, we're looking very closely at expanding offline in Indonesia. We're looking very closely at expanding the buy now, pay later business across the region. We're also looking very closely at other productive sources of financing. I think it's very important to call this out. Recently, just as an example, we partnered with eFishery, which is another high growth startup out of Indonesia, and we are providing their farmers access to loans through which they can buy fish supplies, right, to essentially grow and develop their farms. And we're looking at quite a few initiatives in that regard. So I think our goal is to provide really fast, really affordable, accessible credit to tens of millions of Indonesians, doing it in a way which is very responsible, very low cost. In fact, we're very proud of the fact that we provide one of the lowest cost of credits outside of a credit card in the country today. So we're looking at areas such as that, right? Education loans, motorcycle loans, etc. We're also potentially, right? It's too early to comment, but potentially looking at some expansion down the line in other business lines, right? Still very early, but we believe that we are on the ground floor of a digital disruption in Indonesia and other emerging markets in the region. Still early, but we might look at doing something in the digital banking space potentially, but that's still to be decided.
Okay, we're going to discuss more after the break. Kami akan kembali usai jeda, tetaplah bersama kami. Kami akan kembali untuk Anda di Power Lunch. Terima kasih Anda masih bersama kami. Anda menyaksikan dialog eksklusif program Power Lunch dan kami masih berdialog bersama dengan Mr. Akshay Garg, Co-Founder dan CEO dari FinAccel. Mr. Garg, let's continue our dialogue. In Indonesia, we know that FinAccel has a subsidiary in the field of multi-finance companies, PT FinAccel Finance Indonesia, or widely known as Kredivo. But can you share your view of the business development trends and financing performance of FinAccel Finance Indonesia, or Kredivo, also the prospects of a financial technology company in Indonesia? BNPL, as we know, is a hot sector with many competitors entering the space. How confident are you in leading the pack? What makes you confident that Kredivo will stay ahead of the competition?
Sure, no, great question. Very deep question, Aline. Look, I mean, I think we are today the clear leader. We pioneered the buy now, pay later space. In fact, when we launched with our buy now, pay later product in 2016, we were the first ones in the market. And that was before people really understood what buy now, pay later is, right? Now it's a more widely known phenomenon. We have the highest coverage in the market with 8 out of the top 10 Indonesian merchants working with us. We add a tremendous amount of value to these merchants by helping them increase sales. We also add a tremendous amount of value to our customer base, right? By giving them access to credit at what are some of the lowest interest rates in the country. Very similar to a credit card, actually. I mean, a customer pays 0% and they pay back in full in 30 days, which is very, very rare to find in the country. We have now, nearly 4 million customers. In fact, just over 3.5 million approved customers. So by any standard, I mean, we are today the leading player in the country, but we're not content to stay with that. This question about what are some of the growth initiatives and the overall market size is a really interesting one. It really comes down to the fact that e-commerce is a very high growth industry. The e-commerce industry in Indonesia is expected to grow at 20% plus over the next 5 years. It will be a $100 billion GMV market by the year 2025. The buy now, pay later industry inside that is expected to grow at 3x, 3 times the growth rate of the e-commerce market. So it's essentially growing at 60% a year. And we have, in general, been growing at about 3x the market growth rate, right? So close to about 200% a year over the last few years. So, we feel out is that while I think the e-commerce sector offers a lot of opportunity for growth, there are also a lot of other growth opportunities around offline because most retail transactions are actually happening offline. And that's a massively untapped opportunity. There are only 8 million credit card holders in Indonesia, right? And in general, the banks have been very, very conservative about issuing credit cards. So we believe that we are actually filling a gap by providing customers access to low-cost credit, which helps them, really spread the value of their purchase over time, all the way from 30 days to 12 months. At what are some of the lowest interest rates in the market. So the growth opportunity is massive, and we believe that we are still very early in the buy now, pay later revolution. I'd also like to call out, Ali, that I think recently, I'm not sure if you've heard, but Square, which is one of the largest payment startups in the United States, bought Afterpay, which is one of the global leaders in the buy now, pay later space. It was a $30 billion acquisition. So you can clearly see the value that the buy now, pay later providers are actually providing in the country today. In addition to that, right, we are very, very keen to grow our footprint in the productive financing space. We believe that the new generation of technology startups, and it's not just us, but it's a lot of other companies, whether it's Bukalapak, our close friends who just went public, or the folks at C Group, Grab, GoTo, right? All of these companies are doing an incredible service to society by creating social impact. By basically helping more and more people become entrepreneurs, make it easier to build a living. And we believe that we are part of this generation of entrepreneurs who not just focus on growth, but also equally focus on social impact. So that's core to our philosophy, and we're just very grateful for the opportunity to keep on building.
Of course, we would like to know as well about the impact of the company's corporate actions on Kredivo's consolidated business development plan in Indonesia, including the segment business expansion, growth of financing and the customer, and what is the expected impact for the country's economy in general?
That's a, that's a tough one because at the end of the day, we're still a relatively small company. Indonesia is a $1 trillion economy, right? Large, fast-growing economy. But look, it's an important question. At the end of the day, we believe, right, that credit is very important. Credit drives economic growth anywhere in the world. Savings does not, credit does. Right now, savings translates into credit, right, and that's what translates into economic growth. And there is a very, very large need in Indonesia for more credit in the ecosystem to power more and more economic growth. Now, we've got to be careful with it, right? If credit is misused, people who are not supposed to borrow end up borrowing, right? I mean, that threatens the stability of the financial ecosystem. But to the extent that we or anyone else is offering credit to people who deserve to get credit, who are paying back on time and borrowing in a responsible way, they should be given credit because that really leads to more and more economic growth. The fact of the matter, Aline, is that Indonesia is one of the countries that ranks towards the bottom of the index around credit access. So whether it's corporates or SMEs or individuals, it's significantly harder for them to get credit here. And we and a lot of other companies are making it easier by using technology to score these individuals and to also collect more efficiently, right? Generating results that are in line with those of the top 5, top 10 banks. So our view is that, we are and other companies that are providing credit to society are essentially, at the end of the day, really helping drive Indonesia's economic growth. And that's really the way in which we think we're helping the country and society in general.
Okay. Last question. Can you provide a view for business development vision that FinAccel wants to achieve in the long term? And do you plan to list the subsidiary Kredivo in Indonesia Stock Exchange as well?
Yeah, thank you. Our vision is really to provide fast, affordable, accessible financial services overall. We operate in the field of credit, hence that same vision, stays true about providing really fast, affordable, accessible credit to tens of millions of individuals. We hope to, over the next few years, serve 15, 20 million individuals in Indonesia and really help them lead better lives, make their purchases easier, right? Borrow better, essentially. Now, in terms of our plans to list in Indonesia, we have considered it. We believe that the Indonesian Stock Exchange has made the right move by allowing companies that are loss-making to also list. We are fully profitable, right? So frankly, I think we could have chosen to list in Indonesia, but we are looking very closely at it. I think our board will take a decision downstream on potentially considering a dual listing. But look, I'd again like to highlight that there's a lot of options in front of any company globally, but there is a reason that some of the largest, highest growth, highest quality companies think about listing in the US. It is the deepest capital market. Obviously, at the end of the day, we recognize that we are primarily an Indonesian business, and we would like shareholders in the company to benefit from our growth. And we are fully aware of that, and we will consider potentially doing a dual listing over the next year or two in Indonesia. But this will take some work, and we are working through it.
Okay, thank you very much Akshay Garg for joining us today as the co-founder and CEO of FinAccel. Dan informasi tadi sekaligus menjadi akhir Power Lunch hari ini. Terus saksikan CNBC Indonesia. Saya Alin Wiratmaja undur diri, CNBC Indonesia Beyond Business.